Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Are you getting a TV picture now, Houston? Neil, yes, we are getting a TV picture. You're in our field of view now. Okay, ready for me to come up? All set. Okay, I'm on the top step. It's a very simple matter to hop down from one step to the next. You get 3 more steps and it'll open. Okay, I'm going to leave that 1 foot up there and both hands down about the 4th rung up.
Roger that. 10 miles, he's back on my nose. Watch one again.
And we say to our nation tonight, we say to our government, we even say to our FBI, we will not be harassed. We will not make a butchery of our conscience. We will not be intimidated, and we will be heard.
Battlefield Live, Chris Pilier, Lanterns Media Network. How's everything going out there, folks? Got a nice show lined up for you today, as usual. Hope you stick with us. And got a lot to talk about. In fact, seems like the Democrats have, well, they realize what they're doing isn't working, so they're trying to shift gears a little bit. And, well, Chuck Schumer, as well as Nancy Pelosi and all the other, I don't know, entourage of socialists out there have come out and said that, well, they got a new economic plan. Okay, new economic plan. And I'm sure it's all for us, folks. You know, it's in order for them to be able to control what we wish to buy and what we wish to sell and, you know, eliminate all those rich people, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. Also, John McCain is back. In some cases, it's a good thing. Look, at the end of the day, you know, we can have our disagreements. You know, John McCain is considered a war hero, and I believe he is so. But at the same time, when he talks about things, we need to parse those comments that he makes and understand what he's saying. And I think he said some great things today, but also said he basically some same things that maybe, I don't know, Chuck Schumer would say. So we'll talk about that tonight as well. Also, Debbie Was-A-Man Schultz. Debbie Was-A-Man Schultz is in the news tonight. Yes, she is. And we'll talk about Debbie Was-A-Man Schultz, about her recent, I don't know, I guess her IT person's in trouble trying to escape the country. I don't know. Nah, where's the news there, right? Ha! I hope you stick with me, folks. We got a lot to cover. Battlefield Live, Lanterns Media Network, the Liberty Eagle as well. We'll be right back after the short break. Stick with me.
We're here to fix the machine.
Battlefield Live. You're listening to the Battlefield Live with Chris Pilier from Lanterns Media Network, the Battlefield Live radio program. Want to thank you for joining me on the battlefield today. And tonight I will be flying solo. The one and only Susan Swift is on vacation with the family this weekend. She's recharging those batteries, if we will, which we all need to do at some point, right? We're going to spend time with family and friends. That's what we do this for, right? That's what we're out here fighting on the battlefield of ideas, trying to fix this machine that we call the federal government. Well, today, what I'd like to do is I'd like to dig a little bit into, obviously, some of the news. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with Chuck Schumer and, Nancy Pelosi, little ping pong ball eyes, and all the things that they got going on the Democratic side. And look, they've unrolled this brilliant economic plan. Of course, that's what the way they're making it look like. It's some kind of brilliant plan. But in fact, this particular brilliant plan that they're rolling out has been done before, folks. It's been done before, and it's failed miserably in places like, I don't know, actually places close to home. And it's, right, South Florida, or should I say south of Florida, maybe like Cuba. They're trying it there. They've been trying it there since, the 60s. Venezuela's trying it, and boy, are they really doing a great job. Check it out over there. They're basically rationing toilet paper. A wonderful place to be. Also, places like the Soviet Union, oh, wait, the Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore because, if the socialism and communism just worked so well that they were so prosperous that they were able to change their whole way of doing things in the name of their country and their flag and all that good stuff. I mean, that whole hammer and sickle thing, it's so out of date. It's no longer in style, folks. Well, guess what? That economic policy is a failure. And while the Democrats tinker with it and the Republicans genuflect to the people that tinker with it because they don't want to be, divisive and bipartisan. Well, those individuals, we're going to talk about some of those individuals tonight, so we'll talk a little bit about that. I do want to cover a story, actually, that's kind of, I want to say it's breaking. Actually, it's breaking in my mind because I actually didn't see this covered anywhere, and I happened to be digging around for content for the show tonight, and I just happened to stumble across this story about Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Do you know who Debbie Wasserman Schultz is? Well, she used to basically run the Democratic Party, at least their business, right? In their whole angle, of she's basically their spokesman, right? So Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she got in a little bit of trouble, right? Because she was involved in all of this stuff that was going on with the hacking, and she basically had some nefarious stuff going on. So the Democrats kicked her to the side, kind of like Stalin would if this individual like Debbie Wasserman Schultz wasn't really working out for the Democratic Party because of all the bad publicity, right? So in the Daily Caller, Luke Rosiak writes, he says, FBI agents seized smashed computer hard drives. Kind of like the smashed computer hard drives that Hillary Clinton had, right? Look, every time, look at all these computers, if y'all looking at the screen, all these computers, when a computer goes out and I have to replace, I don't know, parts in the computer like a hard drive, usually what I do is I go out with a big sledgehammer in the backyard and try to utterly decimate the hard drive because there's nothing on it. I just trying to, get rid of stuff. So that's apparently what the Democrats are doing. At least that's the way they're trying to spin it. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz, her information technology IT administrator, if you will, according to two sources, was fleeing the country. At least he was trying to get out, right? Pakistani-born Imran Iwan, say that 3 times fast, longtime right-hand IT aide for the former Democratic National Committee chairman, or chairwoman, got to be careful there. The PC police may be watching. Has since desperately tried to get the hard drives back. An individual whom FBI investigators interviewed in the case told the Daily Caller News Foundation investigative group. An additional source in Congress with direct knowledge of the case, speaking on condition of anonymity. I can never say that word, so just bear with me. They were anonymous. Because of the sensitivity of the probe, confirmed that the FBI has joined what Politico previously described as a Capitol Police criminal probe into serious potential illegal violations on what House IT network by Imran and 3 of his relatives who had access to the emails and files of the more than 24 House Democrats who employed them or part-time basis. I tell you what, I would bet it would be a whole lot of fun being able to dig through those hard drives. Oh, wait, they smashed the hard drives. Yeah, because there was just like video games and stuff like that on it. I mean, nothing really important. Nothing that these police officers might find or FBI agents might find that may be incriminating against some of these Democrats. Capitol Police have also seized computer equipment tied to the Florida lawmaker, Awan's younger brother, Abid and Jamal, everyday Americans, his wife, Hina Alvi, and Rayo Abbas, Imran's best friend, are also under investigation. They have been no arrest in the case. Surprise. There is also evidence of financial schemes that extend beyond the Capitol Police purview and may expand to Pakistan. We must have been colluding with Pakistan, folks, but if it was the Republicans, this would be a whole other thing. Or Trump, can you imagine if Donald Trump was colluding with another country? Well, yeah, you see how that's playing out in the media. No word of this. You won't see this anywhere. Speaker of the House Paul Ryan said in March that the Capitol Police are getting the kind of technical assistance they need to do that. And this, under an active criminal investigation, their capabilities pretty strong, but they're also able to go get the kind of help they need from other sources. The brother's stepmother, man, they got their whole family involved. Man, I wonder if this is like the Capones. The brother's stepmother independently filed court documents in Virginia accusing the brothers of wiretapping and extorting her. Boy, this is a friendly bunch. Soon after Imran began working for Wasserman Schultz in 2005, his 2 brothers and 2 of their wives, okay, plus Abbas and another friend. I mean, you don't never know, folks. I mean, in America now, you could probably now, I guess in some places, have 2, 3, 4 wives. I mean, what would that hurt? It doesn't hurt anybody. Especially if you can get them health care. Begin appearing as IT staffers on the payrolls of other House Democrats. Collectively, the Awan group had been paid $4 million since 2009. So look, this article's on Daily Caller. If you want to go ahead and read the rest of it, for the most part, these folks are trying to, they're just trying to get around a bunch of stuff. And I would imagine that there is no effort by anybody in the political world to really go in and dig around in this, because you know why? Because there's other really important matters, like trying to figure out if Donald Trump bought Russian underwear or something like that. I mean, things that are really important. So look, I want to get into this, kind of get you started on thinking about what this whole Democrat, this new Democratic economic platform, right? The new economic platform that Chuck Schumer has rolled out. And it's interesting if you look at the array of socialists that stand alongside of Chuck Schumer, like, I don't know, Bernie Sanders, a.k.a. I don't know, Vladimir Lenin maybe. And then of course you got the whole other bunch, and you can look if you just go Google any of the latest video of Chuck Schumer and his speeches, you'll see all these goofballs that are just really, really excited about this new economic plan. So let's do this, folks. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to play some audio for you of Chuck Schumer. We'll make some comments there, and I also want to dig into a speech that McCain gave on the floor of Congress today. And I think it was actually a pretty good speech, but I want to parse it and I want to dig down into it, because the real problem that we have with the machine in Washington, D.C. is the fact that they just don't want to give their power up. So stick with us. We'll be right back after this short break. Battlefield Live, Chris Pilier, Lanterns Media Network.
Lanterns, illuminating the truth.
People often ask me, they say, Chris, how is it that we can change the minds of many in this country? And I say, well, you first don't start with the mind. You have to start with the heart. You don't change minds without changing hearts. And that's what we're going to do. It wasn't that long ago that you might have not have had hope for the country, and all of a sudden you have a change of heart. We'll expect that other people right now feel the same way that you used to. It's those people that we have to reach out to. It may be you that we have to reach out to. So it's our task to form a community, a group, unified behind principles, unified behind what has made America the country that it is now. It's about liberty. It's about freedom. And everybody wants to experience this. We just have to show them how. It's about you being a lantern shining out the light of truth. And we can bring this all together in one place. It's truly about the shining city on the hill. Hope is not in the hands of someone else. It's within ourselves. It's within our hearts. It's within our minds. And it's about utilizing those things in order to be able to make us free.
Lanterns, illuminating the truth. Battlefield Live.
Thank you for joining me on the battlefield. This is Chris Pilier, Lanterns Media Network, as well as the Liberty Eagle. Thank you for joining us on the battlefield. Look, if you liking the show, you enjoy the show, make sure you follow us on social media. You can follow the program at Lanterns Buzz on Facebook and Twitter. And you can follow me at Paul Revere again on both Facebook and Twitter as well. Also, make sure if you want to get the podcast, there's a number of places you can get this. We're actually streaming live on a number of different places, including Facebook Live, YouTube, as well as Periscope, which is Twitter. And you can find us on Spreaker as well. So if you want to get our podcast there, and if you're a Spreaker person, great, you can get it there. Or you can get it at iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Player.fm, and SoundCloud. And you can check us out there. Also, our website, lanterns.buzz. You can check out the website And we have, I think, up to like 85, 86 contributors now, both writers, podcasters, and we're working alongside of other groups like the Liberty Eagle, Red Nation Rising. There's a whole bunch of great talent out there. And at the end of the day, while we might have brands, we might have names and websites and all that stuff, the battle and the fight is the same. The battlefield is the same, folks. We named the show The Battlefield Live because it is the place that we come and we share ideas and we hash out the ideas to try to find the best ones. And what's interesting here is I got some audio of an idea, if you will, if you want to call it that. I would just say it's a bad damn idea that Chuck Schumer has been rolling out with a number of a conga line of Democrats. And I want to parse some of the, I don't know, to me these are a lot of just platitudes of what they want to perform, because that's really what they want to do, is they want to perform. Not only do they want to play and do the fan dance and all that stuff, but they also want to perform surgery on you, the American, to try to get you engineered in the way that they wish to have you. So let's play a little bit of this. This is actually a YouTube video. Check it out. This is Chuck Schumer, and he's outlining at a high level his new economic plan with the Democrats. Check this out.
Democrats have too often hesitated from directly and unflinchingly taking on the misguided policies that got us here. So much so that too many Americans don't know what we stand for. Not after today. President Trump campaigned on a populist platform, talking to working people. That's why he won. But as soon as he got into office, he abandoned them, making alliance with the powerful, special interest, Koch brother-dominated, hard right wing of the Republican Party.
Okay, let's stop there for a second, because basically what Chuck Schumer's doing here is no different than what Democrats always do. They bring out the class warfare. They just roll it out with the damn wheelbarrow, right? All this stuff, hammer, sickle, all that good stuff. They just bring it out, roll it out, and immediately attack the rich, the evil rich people. The damn Koch brothers, the Koch brothers with all that money that just really run everything. Like George Soros. Well, maybe not George Soros, because he's a Democrat. So, all those other really, really rich people like, Warren Buffett. Wait. Warren Buffett's, he's a Democrat too. Like people like Bill Gates. Well, Bill Gates is a progressive too. So wait a second. All these rich people, right? So this is the typical song and dance of the Democrats, right? Progressives. What do? They come out, they basically say, this little thing over here is the problem that we have, and it's because of those people, those rich people. Don't mind the fact that these guys have never damn worked a day in their life. All they've done is taken money from you, the taxpayer, shoved it in their pockets. They make tons and tons of money, travel all around the world, live the life of luxury, and what do you get in return, right? Well, you get forced to buy your health care. That's right. And guess what? They eliminate competition with the health care system that they've put in place and implemented and enforced on you. The state. The state mandated health care, not the health care that you want. And it's not even health care. It's insurance. So they're forcing you to buy insurance. They've eliminated all this competition with Obamacare, and they force it down your throat. And, of course, here they come to help. Now that they've screwed the pooch, they want to come fix the pooch, right? And so that's basically what old Chucky Schmucky here is doing. So let's listen a little bit more and see what else they have to offer. Check this out.
Which appeals to the very wealthy, not the working people, leaving a vacuum on economic issues. We Democrats are going to fill that vacuum.
Oh, yes. You know how they're going to do it, folks? They're not going to do it by doing anything to help the quote-unquote workers. Like Workers of the World Unite. They're not going to do anything to help the workers. All they're going to try to do is take the power back that they lost. And the reason why they lost it is because people like Donald Trump actually spoke just normal language, not all this gobbledygook and all the lies and deceit. And look, I'm not a huge Trump fan. I'm definitely not a Chuck Schumer fan, and I'm not a Democrat fan. I'm not a Republican fan. But what I am a fan of is a new regime coming in and taking over all this nonsense that the Democrats, and I say a regime, I really want people like Donald Trump to go in there, shake things up, and return the power back to the people. And guess what? People like Chuck Schumer, they don't like that. Now, the question is, here's the big question of the day. Is Donald Trump going to do that? Chuck Schumer's ringing in on something here. Number one, he doesn't have anything to worry about as far as progressives going anywhere, because progressives want socialism. They want a command and control economy. They want to screw the rich because they believe the rich screwed them. Why? Because that is what they've been taught. That is what our education system teaches. If you go to any university in the country, you are going to learn that the rich people screw you. You know, just like the people that give you the school loans. Just like the colleges that, I don't know, charge you $50,000, $100,000 for an education that used to cost $10,000 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Right? You know, not those rich people, the other rich people. The other rich people that don't want to give up more of their money to fund these type of universities. You see, the problem is that all of these different institutions, Obamacare has become an institution. It is something that you can put your hands on. When you go to the doctor's office, all the nightmares that you experience when you go to the doctor's office with paperwork and all this crap, all of that is because it is Obamacare. The fact of the matter is, when you go to the doctor, when you walk through the front door, and you walk up the 17,000 flights of stairs in this huge building, most of you go to, you don't go to some little, mom and pop doctor. You go to some big, huge place because you know what? These doctors realize that it's just much, much less expensive for them to do their business and not have to worry about the headaches of paperwork, so they go work in a hospital. And they get the hospital to do all the paperwork and all that stuff that they don't want to have to deal with because they didn't get into medicine to do paperwork. No, they got into medicine to help people. So, you go into the hospital or whatever, or the big, huge clinic that you got to go to see your doctor. And you go in there, and who's the first person do you see? Is it your doctor smiling there, drinking a cup of coffee, waiting for you to come in and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Patient, let's go in the back? No. First thing you do is you go sit in at the window, and the guy or the gal behind the window, the nurse or the $15 an hour clerk there says, do you have insurance? Oh, you do. Okay, well, let's see what kind of insurance you have. Okay, so you have a copay today. Go ahead and pay your copay, and you run your paperwork, you do your copay, right? And so then you go into the doctor's office, and then the nurse comes in there, and they look at, the history and all that stuff, and this is where actually the medical stuff done. And then the doctor comes in, and he says, how you feeling? You tell him what's going on. He says, well, this is what you need, and by the way, your insurance company doesn't cover that. But we can do this, and we can do this, and we can do this, right? And so everything that you do in the doctor's office is revolving around whether or not you can afford the health care that you're trying to get. You spend 5 minutes with the doctor and 30 minutes with the clerks and the nurse as they're trying to arrange everything to make all of this paperwork come together in this huge database so they can actually have their 15 people in the back room process your paperwork and send it on over to wherever they send it. And then, of course, if the government wants to come in and see what type of exams you've had to make sure they're complying with all this nonsense, well, that's their right, right? I mean, it's not your right, it's their right. Because, after all, it's got to be fair, right? So what happens in this situation? Well, the doctors, they kind of get aggravated. They don't want to practice anymore. In some cases, they don't want to get into the business because it's too much hassle. You go to school for, 10, 12 years or whatever it is to become a doctor. You spend, $150,000, $200,000 to go to school to be a doctor. Then you get out and you do all this freaking stuff. And then what happens? Well, you get a career making $200,000 a year, starting out as a doctor, maybe as a general practitioner or something to that effect. And then you got to deal with all the legal issues. You got to hire staffs. Well, maybe you don't want to hire staff. You go work in a hospital. Well, man, now you're cutting into your profit. You're not making a whole lot of money because you're working in a hospital. You're not running your own place. So what happens to the health care? Well, doctors stop getting involved. And then we're giving out all this free health care, all the free stuff that has to be paid for by somebody. It's just not paid for by most people. Well, when there's more of those people that go to the doctor's office, what happens when you get there? Well, there's a huge line, right? So what happens to competition, folks? The government gets involved, and the big, huge corporations, they understand that these regulations are really, really expensive. And the small mom and pops, they don't want to deal with the regulations. Why? Because they're too expensive and they can't get around it. And a lot of the people that put these regulations together are the big businesses in the first place. So where does your competition go? Well, your competition goes away, right? How many energy companies do you have the ability to go buy your power from? Probably maybe 1 or 2, 3 at best. Why isn't that you don't have 15? Well, because the competition's gone. Why? Because it's a very highly regulated market. How many different gas stations can you go to and buy gasoline? Maybe 5. Exxon, Shell, Chevron, BP, whatever. Maybe a handful. And if you go to the local store, the racetrack or something, where do you think they get their fuel from? Do you think they have a racetrack refinery somewhere? No, they buy fuel from one of the big boys. Why is there only 5 or 6 refining companies out there? Large refining companies. Why? Because they've eliminated their competition. Why? Because of regulation. How many internet companies, ISPs, do you have? You probably have a lot more now than you will in the future if the government regulates that. How many cable companies do you have out there you can choose from? 2, 3? Why not 15? Well, because think of all the regulations that you got to go through to be a communications company. How many cell phone providers do you have a choice for? 6, 7? Probably a lot more than you will have. Why? Because the federal government is going to regulate it. And guess what? Who's going to write the regulations? Do you think you're going to write the regulation as your representative does for you? You go into your representative, say, I want you to write regulations to limit my ability to buy cell service. No. It's the AT&Ts. It's the Verizon. So when Mr. Chuck Schumer here stands up in front of you and says that he wants to not work with the Koch brothers, well, that's fine. You'll work with AT&T. You'll work with Verizon. You'll work with all these other people that are willing to pay the Democrats. Why? Because they'll pay you to create regulation for them so they can be rich and wealthy. Let's not play the game, Chuck Schumer. And folks, let's us not play the game. Because at the end of the day, all of this is a big ruse. It's a big lie. So stick with me on the battlefield, folks. We'll be right back after the short break. We'll play a little bit more of Chucky Schmucky. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Battlefield Live.
When the federal government that is intended to protect the people grows and grows and grows out of control and spreads across the boundaries that are put on it by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, this is what happens. All of the good intentions that have been put into the NSA and all of these different agencies and all these different tentacles of the Leviathan that we call the federal government, they're now being used against us. The good intentions have bled out. Now they become arms of political power. So as the Trump administration's coming in and the Obama administration's going out, the Obama administration used tactics in order to try to undermine and delegitimize Donald Trump. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, whether you are an Obama supporter or not, think about that for a moment. That your tax dollars, your rights that you have given to the government, for the most part, in order to so-called, quote-unquote, protect you from evil terrorists. have been used against you, the American people. And just because you didn't support Trump doesn't mean that it doesn't affect you. Because guess what? The next guy that comes into office, and he's a Democrat or a progressive, what do you think Donald Trump's going to do? If he's got his establishment out there. I'm not saying he's going to do it, but he could. And there's precedent for it. If we don't talk about this right now, and we don't get our federal government in order, this is going to continue. It's only going to get worse.
Lanterns changing hearts to change minds.
Lanterns illuminating the truth.
Thank you for sticking with us, folks. Battlefield Live, Chris Pilier, Lanterns Media Network. Folks, if you're watching the show on Facebook, make sure you share the program. We're in two different locations, Lanterns Buzz as well as the Liberty Eagle. Thanks to all the guys and gals at Liberty Eagle. They're doing a fantastic job. If you're one of the Lanterneers out there, if you're following us on Lanterns, make sure you swing over to the Liberty Eagle and you follow that page and share that page. Get as many people as you can go there. And if you're on the Liberty Eagle and you're listening to the program, make sure you go to Lanterns Buzz. Let's get all these big groups, these pro-American patriot groups, and get as many people as we can to file in and listen to the message that we have. Engage with that message. If you don't agree with something I'm saying, share your view, and by all means, respectfully, we'll get on the battlefield of ideas and we'll work that out. Try to figure out who has the better idea. And we may both have great ideas. So that's what it's all about. Battlefield Live radio program, Chris Pilier, Lanterns Media Network. Okay, so I want to jump right back into old good Chucky Schmucky Schumer. And look, it's just really, really funny to hear Donald Trump being bashed by Chuck Schumer for being a populist, right? When the Democratic Party, for the most part, is a populist party, right? The Republican Party doesn't know what the hell it is. The Democratic Party has been a populist party for a long time. They fashion themselves as favorable to the workers, quote unquote. And here it is, Chuck Schumer on camera, and trying to really shape shift the Democratic Party, if you will, getting them out of the gutter, getting them out of the ruts that they're in. They're stuck in a ditch somewhere, in that car that Barack Obama was driving and bailed out of. And all of a sudden, they're stuck in the mud, and here it is, Chucky Schmucky Schumer's trying to really pull this thing out. And what is he doing? Well, he's basically saying that Donald Trump came in, he was really working for the workers. You know, he came in and he said he was going to do all these great things, and what has he done? Well, he's done what the radical right-wingers always do. Look, if there's anything that Donald Trump is not, is a radical right-winger, at least in the American sense. He's not. He's a center-of-the-road guy. And I would say he's more liberal than conservative, but at the same time, he wants to dismantle the establishment. People like Chuck Schumer wants to take those guys out of the equation and bring the American people back into the fray. I'm okay with that. Now, I'm not going to agree with everything that Donald Trump stands for. In some cases, some of the health care issues we have, Donald Trump has supported similar systems. In fact, way back when, he supported a single-payer system, which is much worse than what we have. Will he give us a single-payer system? I hope not. We'll see how that plan rolls out. I don't think he will. The plans that he supported, which he supported about 15 different ones since he's been running, since he ran for president and now is president, he's wanted to push repeal. I'm okay with repeal. We were much better prior to Obamacare than where we are now. But this whole repeal and replace, that came in because of Donald Trump. And look, I'm not going to agree, and I don't expect to agree that everything that Donald Trump came to the table with. And we can get on the battlefield of ideas and explain why repeal and replace is a bad idea. And we're gonna kind of unfold that whole replace idea here with a couple of things. Let's listen to a little bit more Chuck Schumer, and then I want to get over to John McCain. Check this out.
Democrats will show the country we are the party on the side of working people.
Gee, where's Bernie?
Let's face it.
Oh, there's Bernie in drag. Check this one out.
America is getting richer every year. But for working families to get a share of that prosperity that they're creating.
Yeah, you know, the share that they deserve. Their share of what the rich people have. You know, the stuff that the rich people stole, right? The whole class warfare thing, ringing out.
We need some serious enforcement of competition law.
Real enforcement of competition law. Let's unpack that for a second. You heard what I mentioned earlier about Obamacare and all the different things that you have to deal with in order to be able to get cable, right? Or flush your damn toilet. How many places do you have to choose from as far as your, you know, all the public services that you have, right? Public services. There is no competition in public service. It's public service. So the government is all of a sudden going to come bring competition? No, the biggest monopoly in the world is the United States federal government. Why would we think that this woman or Bernie Sanders or Chuck Schumer or the Republicans for that matter are going to intervene and enforce, quote-unquote, competition? How the hell do you enforce competition? You're going to make people compete? What kind of twisted, idiotic thing is this? This kind of sounds like something that would come out of somebody that would make up the idea that they were an Indian or something. I mean, just saying. Check a little bit more of this one out.
This is one step that Democrats are offering to take back our government. And it's a darn good step.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you. It's infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. So let's explore this a little bit. You got people like Elizabeth Warren, the socialist, Bernie Sanders, the socialist, Chuck Schumer, the socialist, that think that they can come in and they can force us to be competitive. Enforcement means force. Enforce law. Like what? I don't know. Don't we have laws in place that eliminate monopolies? And not only that, you know, and we're talking about antitrust law, which is a whole different debacle in itself, and some of that is nonsense in itself. But like I said before, the federal government is the biggest monopoly. If we go to single-payer healthcare, how are they going to enforce competition in that? You can't. There is no competition in single-payer. That's why they call it single-payer. So this is doublespeak. This is doublespeak. The fact that they're going to enforce competition at the same time, take away all your rights, take away money from the rich people that are creating competition, and put it in the hands of the monopoly so they can determine which health care is best for you. And there's going to be no competition. Look, there's something that really struck me when I met a friend through the Tea Party way back when. It was probably 2010, 2009. A guy by the name of Oleg Gazbastian. Y'all may have heard of this guy. He runs a website called The People's Cube. It's actually pretty funny. You need to check it out. And I live in the New Orleans area, and he and I, along with my wife and a couple other friends from the Tea Party, we went to New Orleans to show him, New Orleans and have a couple of drinks and all that. And we went to a place in the quarter, actually the Ritz-Carlton. There's a guy by the name of Jeremy Davenport plays there. He's a fantastic musician. And we wanted to kind of give him a flavor of New Orleans music. And we said, there's no better place than to do that. Bring him there. And this guy was a propagandist for the Soviet Union. And not because he wanted to be a propagandist. He wanted to paint. He wanted to be a painter. He wanted to be an artist. And the only way that he could do that is not to be innovative and create his own artwork. Go to the store and buy a paintbrush and some canvas and create art and go into the market and try to sell paintings. No. He had to actually apply with the government to get into the artists union so he can paint. Now think about that for a second. Put yourself in that situation. That whatever it is that you enjoy doing, that you would have to go get permission and a license from the federal government to do it. That is the kind of system that Elizabeth Warren wants to put in place, right? So Oleg was telling me, I asked him a million questions because I'm fascinated with the mindset that it takes to actually create a society that plummets into utter hell in a place like the Soviet Union and communism. The misery that those people went through. I'm reading a book by Solzhenitsyn. It's a book that explains the misery of the Soviet Union, and it's completely fascinating what these people would do. They would lie and snitch on each other just because they were afraid of the tyranny that was in place under Stalin's Soviet Union. And in talking with him, I asked him. I said, if there was one thing that you can remember when you came to the United States that was amazing to you, that about America and what America's all about, and he couldn't believe the freedom that people had to say what they wanted to say, do what they wanted to do. They didn't have to go through checkpoints every place they go. They didn't have to report into somebody when they were moving out of town or something like that. They just were able to move freely. And I said, did other people come from the Soviet Union or the new Russia in the 90s? When they came, what did they say? And he said, I had a real good friend that I hadn't seen in many years, and they came to the United States, and I asked her what was the most amazing thing for her, because he had already been there for several years, and it kind of had soaked in. That freedom and liberty just really made him a really, really creative person, and he was able to explore all these different things. And she said that when she walked into the grocery store, she actually wept. I'm thinking, the only time I weep when I go to the grocery store is when they don't have something that I want, like a nice steak or something like that. And I said, well, why did she weep? And she said because she went down the cereal aisle and she couldn't believe how many options they had. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. The next time you're in the grocery store, go down the cereal aisle and see how many damn different boxes of cereal they got in there. And look, they got probably be a handful of companies that make all those cereals, but look at all the options. And I said, that just doesn't compute. I don't understand. He said, there is no choice, or there was no choice in the Soviet Union because there was no competition. The government was the creator of everything. The state was what people worked under and worked for. The state was the provider of rights. So the cereal came from the state. The state didn't need to make 15 different types of cereal or 50 different types of cereal. No, they just needed to make one type of cereal, with the hammer and sickle on it. That good stuff. And it's because there is no need for competition when you have a monopoly. And that's what the federal government is. Obamacare is destroying your health care because it's monopolizing health care. And it's not monopolizing around health care. It's monopolizing it around the providing of health care. And the providing really of insurance, not even health care. So you're having less and less choices. And here is Elizabeth Warren that's saying that she's going to fix that for you. What do you think? So let's thank you. Okay. So let's I want to play a little bit of John McCain's speech today. Number one, I want to be careful that we obviously don't pile on John McCain, right? John McCain is just recently was diagnosed with brain cancer. I've been giving him a fair share of criticism, him and Lindsey Graham, the other female in the race. I've given them a lot of criticism because of their beliefs, not because their duty and their desire to do, in their mind, what's right for the people. And that's important to say there, what they believe. So I want to play a little bit of John McCain here speaking in front of Congress right after the motion to proceed of the H.R. 1628 Budget Reconciliation Act, which basically will give an option to repeal part of the health care law. So check this out, and I'll comment on it. Check this out here.
Stood in this place many times and addressed as president many presiding officers. I've been so addressed when I've sat in that chair, and that's as close as I'll ever be to a presidency. But anyway. It's an honorific we're almost indifferent to, isn't it? In truth, presiding over the Senate can be a nuisance, a bit of ceremonial bore, and it is usually relegated to the more junior members of the majority. But I stand here today.
Rude. The junior members. Oh, I'm above that.
looking a little worse for wear, I'm sure, I have a refreshed appreciation for the protocols and customs of this body and for the other 99 privileged souls who have been elected to this Senate. I've been a member of the United States Senate for 30 years. I had another long, if not as long, career before I arrived here, another profession that was profoundly rewarding, and in which I had experiences and friendships that I revere. But make no mistake, my service here is the most important job I've had in my life. And I'm so grateful to the people of Arizona for the privilege, for the honor of serving here and the opportunities it gives me to play a small role in the history of the country that I love. I've known and admired men and women in the Senate who played much more than a small role in our history, true statesmen, giants of American politics. They come from both parties and from various backgrounds. Their ambitions were frequently in conflict. They held different views on the issues of the day, and they often had very serious disagreements about how best to serve the national interest. But they knew that however sharp and heartfelt their disputes, however keen their ambitions, they had an obligation to work collaboratively to ensure the Senate discharged its constitutional responsibilities effectively.
Okay, number one, first and foremost, I disagree with a little bit of that, okay? Because I do believe that a lot of people in that body don't look at their job as an obligation to do things in a constitutional manner. I just don't. Because they don't do things in a constitutional manner. Half of the frickin' Senate and half of Congress voted for Obamacare. That is not constitutional. I don't care what the Supreme Court ruled. The fact of the matter is forcing people to buy things is not constitutional. The Constitution is a charter of negative liberties. It basically tells the government what it cannot do. It doesn't tell the government what it can do on your behalf. Barack Obama. I'm saying that because Barack Obama believed, based on some audio that we heard him a while back, I'm not going to play the audio, that the government should venture into a place where they provide rights to people. And that's, in essence, what the government has become. Not the protector of rights, the provider of rights. And that is a problem. So I'm in disagreement with John McCain here. I appreciate the sentiment, the reverence that he's giving to the position. I appreciate that. So let's listen to a little bit more.
Our responsibilities are important, vitally important to the continued success of our republic. And our arcane rules and customs are deliberately intended to require broad cooperation to function well at all.
I agree.
The most revered members of this institution accepted the necessity.
So the nature of the Constitution is conflict. It is, in order to be able to get to a point where things get passed, the government and the representatives of the people have to agree. And when they don't agree, that doesn't mean that part of the people get to just push through whatever the hell they want. No, they have to come to an agreement. They don't get to go around all the constitutional protections in place. They don't get to hide behind some stupid parliamentary rule. The parliamentary rules are parliamentary. They're not constitutional. And I'm not saying they're not constitutional because they're against constitutional law. I'm simply saying they're not created by the founders within the Constitution. Parliamentary rule is an order. That's it. It's a sense of order to try to get the deliberative process rolling in order, right? So listen to a little bit more. We only got a few more minutes here.
Of compromise in order to make incremental progress on solving America's problems and defend her from her adversaries. That principled mindset and the service of our predecessors who possessed it come to mind when I hear the Senate referred to as the world's greatest deliberative body. I'm not sure we can claim that distinction with a straight face today.
I agree.
I'm sure it wasn't always deserved in previous eras either.
I agree.
But I'm sure there have been times when it was, and I was privileged to witness some of those occasions. Our deliberations today, not just our debates, but the exercise of all of our responsibilities, authorizing government policies, appropriating the funds to implement them, exercising our advice and consent role, are often lively and interesting. They can be sincere and principled, but they are more partisan, more tribal, more of the time than at any time that I can remember. Our deliberations can still be important and useful, but I think we'd all agree they haven't been overburdened by greatness lately.
Okay. I want to stop there. There's a little bit more. He actually gets in there and starts bashing talk radio and all this stuff. Okay. It's become tribal. What does that mean? When someone says things are becoming tribal, what does that mean? Well, first of all, my first thought is we're going back into the Stone Age, because that's where we had tribes, right? So there's a couple ways to look at this. Number one, if we look at this from a federalist standpoint, well, communities can be considered a tribe, I guess. Well, that isn't tribal in essence, or I should say, prehistoric in nature. These are actually the way that the founders designed it. So, in essence, each one of those people that are there represent a tribe, at least in the House, right? Because you have all these different, districts all around the country where these representatives come from, and they represent the people in that community. Doesn't mean that there's a wall around that community and other people can't come in and out of that community. That's not the point. What he's talking about here is people coming tribal. They're talking about different factions. And he's talking about conservatives maybe and maybe the rhinos and different aspects of these groups that they've created. And what do they represent? Well, they represent, for the most part, outside of the conservatives, because conservatives don't believe in class warfare, for the most part, everybody else represents some type of class. I don't know, like maybe the Black Caucus or, the LGBT group of people. All these different tribes, if you will, that don't wrap themselves around the purpose of America. No, they wrap themselves around some identity, some preformed identity. And they've wrapped themselves around this identity in order to try to eliminate classes. So they created classes to eliminate classes. Nonsense. So the problem that we have here, and I think that John McCain is tuned into it. Now, I don't believe that he's there to give the power back to the people. I think he thinks, like a lot of politicians that get into a deliberative body, quote unquote, like Congress for 30 years. When was the last time he ran a business? When was the last time these people are completely isolated from where the real world works. So what do they think? They think that we're all stupid out here. Okay, we're representing the stupid people. And I'm sure that, maybe it's a little harsh to say that they think we're all stupid. But they definitely don't think that we can take care of ourselves. And there's evidence all over the place. All you have to all you have to do is look in the law. Because the law is supposed to take care of us. Right? Obamacare was amended to take care of us because we can't determine what's best for us and our body. We have to have a law that does that for us. And we can't communicate to our doctor. We have to go to the federal government to do that because we just can't trust the doctor. Even though we've done it for, a couple hundred years here in the United States. Folks, the bottom line is here's progressivism exists everywhere, including in the verbiage, in the language of John McCain. And what we have to do is we have to exterminate that idea of progressivism. Because progressivism is just socialism. That's all it is. Folks, I want to thank you for joining me on the Battlefield Live radio program. It's been a great pleasure. I'll be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 Eastern. Susan will not be here tomorrow, but she'll be here next week. But I'll have everything covered. We'll have a great show tomorrow. We'll cover the news of the day as well as some other things. We'll dabble into some thought processes and some ideas that we'll bring about on the battlefield. So thank you for joining me on the Battlefield Live radio program, and we'll talk to you later. Tater.